Hello, Chris Park here, coming at you with just a very brief preview of some of the ships. This is the parking lot scene where Pepe Solo and Golden Wolf and myself kind of put things together. This is just a few of the ships, most of them outdated, but we're going to look at a few new things. Now, one of the things that anybody who's played the beta before now is probably aware of is that the science um, gather points were just this weird kind of um, building, really, that gave you science for some reason, but only a certain amount for some reason. Um, Now, what we've got are these right here, which are the these were actually old Neinzul ships, which are husks that are left over from battles like 1,000 years before, but they've still got fusion reactions going on in them, as you can see. And so your scientists can kind of set up camp, study them for a little while, learn stuff from the remains of the ship, and that gets you science points. And so we've got 5 different models of them. Normally you see these from pretty far zoomed out. So um, a lot of the stuff in this parking lot is pretty busted, just so you know, because it's largely out of date stuff. So please ignore a lot of the other stuff. Now that gets us, however, to the Spire, which are not busted. I'm going to just stop moving the camera here, and you can see they look, to me, more like ice than anything else, but they're like smoky on the inside. And uh, I'm really pleased because in the first game, the way that I modeled them was that I took in ZBrush uh, like a little modeling tool and then just dragged it around when it was black and then inverted it so it was white. Then it had these, anywhere there had been a spot of brightness, it showed shadow. And so it looked kind of inverted. This is not doing that. However, it still has that same sort of flavor because it looks like there's these dark shapes kind of swirling around underneath the surface of the ice. So you don't get that surrealistic kind of incorrect look, like a photo negative that the other one had, but you do get the same kind of general feel of it. So this is kind of like the HD version of that. So we've got ourselves, this is the frigate here, the Mark I Starship. I made it about like this compared to the um, Ark, and compared to the other, these are the biggest of the flagships of the other Starship lines. And then you've got the Mark One, or sorry, Mark II one, which is destroyers. That's substantially bigger right away. Um, and Keith was noting that, like, with the full cap on like Fallen Spire in the first game, you'd have like I think 30 some frigates, and like then just down to 8 destroyers, and then just a handful of cruisers, like 4 or something. Speaking of cruisers, here's that. So these things get even larger and more crazy looking. And then this one's the Mark IV, the battleship. I'm particularly fond of this one because it's so defensive looking on the front. And then they all have cool details on the back. And then the bad boy here, the big one, is the Dreadnought, of which I believe there would just be one, period. And these things are like um, kind of going toe to toe with the Devourer, I think, a lot of times. Not fully, but as close as anything else can. So I did this cool 3-point split thing down here, and they've got a whole lot of detail in general, and they've got some like little arms that kind of float next to them as well that aren't actually directly connected. Fun fact is that these Neinzul ships, and then these the baseline models for these Spire ships actually were modeled by Blue for Stars Beyond Reach, which they were then overpainted to make the 2D views that we have in that game. But these were kind of the reference models that she created, and now we've pulled them over here. And then we've got this, which is the Spire City Hub, which players from the first game will be familiar with. And then here you've got the Spire Galactic Capital. It's a little bit more increased in size compared to the original City Hub than Keith had specified, but I think it looks neat. We've got the Spire Shipyard here, which I love this kind of skeletal. I imagine them being, created inside this kind of almost like skeletal womb of like if you're a sentient, like, if you're a sentient flying crystal and icy space rock of a ship, then I imagine if you're being like constructed externally, then it's half between scaffolding, half between a womb, and I think that's kind of neat. And then we've got the Spire Habitation Complex. I'm not sure who lives there since the Spire are living ships, but nonetheless, we've got it. And then we've got the Spire Shard reactors as well. And normally wouldn't be zoomed in this close, so the electricity bumping around in there isn't as intense. There we go. This is a little more, even this is still pretty zoomed in, kind of close, but I'm pleased that actually, you can see the shadows moving around in all of it, and you can see those moving around as well. I don't know what this big old bright light is, just something else that's busted. It's not anything important. But yeah, so there's our roster of Spire ships, and then our roster of Neinzul Husks. So it's not actually putting the Neinzul as a playable group in the game, but it gives them a little bit of a footprint. So, and in the future, who knows? So, thanks for watching.